Hi everyone, this lesson is about the distributive law. So let me give you an example of the distributive law. If I had something like 2 multiplied by 7 plus 3. Now that's dead simple. We know that 7 plus 3 is 10, and we know that 2 times 10 is 20. So we already know the answer is 20. But the distributive law tells me I can multiply the 2 by each of the terms inside the brackets. So I could go 2 by 7 and then add on 2 by 3. Now we can see that that's 14 plus 6, which of course gives the same answer, 20. That's the distributive law. When we multiply a term, in this case the number 2, across to each of the parts inside a bracket. When there are two things inside a bracket, we call it binomial. There's two parts there. Now I can represent this in the form of a simple diagram. Let's imagine we have a rectangle here with a width of 2 and it's 7 units long, and then there's a little extra bit joined on, the 3 units long. So if you like, the length of the rectangle is 7 plus 3. Now it's pretty clear why we end up with 2 times 7, because that rectangle there will be 14 units, and then we end up with 2 times 3, because that's the little extra rectangle at the end. There's the 6 units for a total of 20. Now that's using numbers. We can do exactly the same process with pronumerals. Let me show you one. Perhaps we have 2x multiplied by x minus 3. So we use the distributive law. So all of this multiplies by x, and all of it multiplies by 3, and there'll be a subtraction sign in between. We'll end up with 2x multiplied by x, then the subtraction sign, then we'll have 2x multiplied by 3. Now 2x times x, you'll recall, x times x is x squared. The 2 at the front just sits there and still just does its thing. And then 2x multiplied by 3, this time the 2 and the 3 multiply to become 6, and the x is just sitting there doing its thing. Now, some people will go straight from the question to the answer. The bit in the middle here, this bit, will not need to be written down. That will be the thinking inside your head. So here we go. That's a little thought bubble. There's a little happy math student thinking about what the distributive law does, and then they go straight to write the question, then write the answer on the next line down. Let's try a slightly more difficult one. Sometimes we get things like 2x minus 1 multiplied by, say, 6 plus 3x. So we have two binomial parts multiplying each other. Now for this one, I might do a diagram. Remember how on the diagram last time, I sort of split the thing into two sections. I went, that was 6, and that bit over there was, oh, that's a typo, I'm sorry. That should have been 3. 3x. Now, I'm going to have to do the same thing on the other side, because the other side's got two parts. That's 2x, and this little bit here is negative 1. So I'm going to multiply, and I'll end up getting 4 parts. The yellow part there will be 2x multiplied by 6. Then I'll get this little green section here, which will be 2x down there and 3x that way. Then I'll get a bit down here, which will be negative 1 multiplied by 6, and finally I'll get a little bit down in the corner there. So when there are two binomial terms, so remember binomial means there's two parts, and both of them are binomial, it's no surprise that two things multiplied by two things, you get four different bits. Now you might have seen a diagram like this. The first term multiplies by both of them, then the second term multiplies by both of them. Now it doesn't really matter which way you think about it, as long as you remember that each part in the first bracket multiplies each part in the second bracket. So let's start writing this down. The 2x multiplies by the 6, and as we know, the number 2 times 6, that's 12. and the x will still be there. Then to the green bit, the 2x multiplies by the 3x. Now in this case, it's both positives, so we end up with a positive answer. 2 times 3 is 6, and x multiplied by x is x squared. Now we're down to the blue shaded part, -1 by 6, that's -6. And then the last bit, the purpley bit, negative by positive is a negative, and 1 times 3x is 3x. Now when we get to this one, we've got some like terms. Let me just highlight. There's a 12x, there's a -3x. Remember, these are like terms because they have the same pronumeral x and it's to the same power, in this case, first power, or power of 1. So let's write the 6x squared at the front. It's a positive, so we don't need to put anything in front. Then I'll go the 12x, take away the 3x, that leaves positive 9x, and then the constant 6. So it turns out that a binomial times a binomial ends up giving me a quadratic formula. That quadratic is the one where there's a squared term, there's a linear term, or an x to the first power, and a constant at the end. So that's the distributive law in a nutshell. Distributive law is a very important thing in mathematics, and it's very important that you are proficient at this. Okay, thanks for watching.